A sentencing day for Ethan Crumbley, the teen who pled guilty to fatally gunning down 4 of his classmates.
Shackled school shooter Ethan Crumbley shuffles into court to learn his fate. And what the now 17-year-old killer heard were cutting words.
On November 30th, 2021, 15-year-old Ethan Crumbley walked out of a bathroom at Oxford High School with a 9mm handgun and opened fire on his classmates. This was no accident. Within minutes, 4 students lay dead and 7 others injured, as surveillance footage would reveal the calculated nature of Crumbley's attack that led to 24 criminal charges, including murder and terrorism. What investigators uncovered next would expose the disturbing evidence of premeditation.
I'm a really bad person. I have done terrible things that no one should ever do.
That sealed his fate to life imprisonment without parole. At 12:51 p.m. that Tuesday, surveillance footage showed Ethan Robert Crumbley exiting a bathroom with a 9mm handgun. He immediately began firing in the hallway as hundreds of students passed through during class transition. The security cameras captured every moment of what prosecutors would later describe as a methodical execution.
My hand over my head, and I realized it was Hannah. I could hear her groaning beside me. I kept trying to reassure her. Someone will come help us. Don't worry. Just keep breathing. Just please stay with me. I said that to her 1,000 times.
When students began fleeing, Crumbley walked down the hallway at a deliberate pace and shot into classrooms and at anyone unable to escape. The footage revealed his calculated approach as he targeted fleeing teenagers with deadly precision, firing through barricaded doors and aiming for heads and chests at close range. According to students, a voice over the intercom alerted them to an active shooter, and their teachers started locking and barricading doors and covering windows. Others recounted hearing loud banging sounds before realizing they were gunshots. One student hiding in a bathroom stall later recalled hearing the distinctive sound of a gun being cocked just outside. When the school was finally secured, survivors found several bodies lying on the floor.
We want you to spend the rest of your life rotting in your cell. What you stole from us is not replaceable.
The carnage lasted exactly 5 minutes. 3 students, Madison Baldwin, 17, Tate Meyer, 17, and Hannah St. Juliana, 14, were killed at the scene. Meyer was shot while attempting to stop the gunman and died in a police vehicle en route to the hospital. On December 1st, a 4th student, 17-year-old Justin Schilling, died in the hospital from his injuries. 8 other people, including a teacher, were wounded. Each victim had been deliberately targeted as they tried to escape. Police arrived within minutes of the first 911 call. They found Crumbley walking calmly through the hallways, making no attempt to flee or hide. When deputies confronted him, he surrendered immediately without resistance. He still had 7 rounds of ammunition loaded into his gun and 2 15-round magazines, evidence he had prepared for a much longer attack. The physical evidence scattered throughout the southern end of the building told the story of Crumbley's preparation. A total of 32 spent bullet casings were found at the school.
Any sentence that they ask for, I ask that you do impose it on me, because I want them to be happy and I want them to feel secure and safe, and I do not want them to...
Authorities documented at least 30 shots fired in those 5 minutes. The sheer volume of ammunition expended demonstrated the scope of violence Crumbley had unleashed. Due to the quick response by students and staff, Crumbley was unable to enter any of the classrooms. Teachers had activated lockdown procedures, barricading doors and covering windows. The Alice training Oxford High had implemented proved crucial. Students and staff used noise as distraction and created distance from the gunman. Without those defensive measures, the death toll would have been catastrophic. The surveillance footage became the prosecution's most damning evidence. Officials told reporters that the cameras showed Crumbley had a clear intent to kill, firing through barricaded doors and aiming for vital areas at close range. One prosecutor said of the video, "What is depicted on that footage, honestly, Judge, I don't have the words to describe how horrific that was." But the cameras had captured only part of the story. The investigation would soon reveal that this wasn't a spontaneous outburst. It was a carefully planned attack that Crumbley had documented in chilling detail, complete with written manifestos and recorded confessions that would expose the true depth of his premeditation. After watching Crumbley calmly surrender with 7 rounds still loaded and 2 full magazines. Do you think he planned an even longer attack or simply gave up when confronted? Drop your answer in the comments below. What investigators found during their search of his home would reveal the true scope of his preparation, but the cameras had captured only part of the story. When investigators searched Crumbley's home the night of the shooting, they uncovered evidence that would expose the true depth of his premeditation. Hidden in his bedroom was a journal filled with disturbing entries that revealed this wasn't a spontaneous outburst. It was a carefully planned attack that Crumbley had been documenting for months. The journal contained chilling entries where the 15-year-old wrote, "I will have to find where my dad hid my 9mm before I can shoot the school." In another entry dated the day before the shooting, he wrote, "The shooting is tomorrow. I have access to the gun and the ammo. I am fully committed this to now."
About what they heard as the shooter emerged from the bathroom and opened fire. It's not the same evidence as the video. The video has no sound. The video does not give that sort of depiction, that eye-level depiction, that eyewitness testimony. It is not cumulative. If we called every single student who's in that hallway, it could be cumulative, but we are being very selective in who we're choosing to call to testify, because we want to limit it to the individuals who can provide the appropriate context and appropriate perspective that is not identical.
I can't imagine what those two students went through on November 30th of 2021. Their testimony is not relevant in the trial against James Crumbley. He's been charged with 4 counts of involuntary manslaughter. He's not charged with assaulting anyone with a firearm. He's not charged with shooting anyone and wounding anyone. He's charged with 4 counts of involuntary manslaughter for the actions of his son.
The journal also contained desperate pleas for help that his parents had ignored. "I have zero help for my mental problems, and it's causing me to shoot up the effing school. I want help, but my parents don't listen to me, so I can't get any help." These entries would become crucial evidence in the unprecedented prosecution of his parents, James and Jennifer Crumbley. Investigators also discovered 2 videos on Crumbley's cell phone, both filmed the night before the attack. In these recordings, he talked about his plans to shoot and kill students at the school the following day. The videos provided a timeline of his final preparations and demonstrated the calculated nature of his intent. Earlier evidence showed Crumbley had been accessing the family's firearms for months. In August 2021, he had texted a video to a friend showing him holding and loading a pistol inside his house, writing, "My dad left it out, so I thought, why not, LOL." The weapon itself told its own story of parental negligence. James Crumbley had purchased the 9mm Sig Sauer handgun for Ethan as a gift just 4 days before the shooting, buying it the day after Thanksgiving. When investigators searched the master bedroom, they found an open gun box sitting on the bed next to an empty box of 9mm ammunition. The family's other firearms were stored in a gun case locked with the default combination 000. Just 3 days before the massacre, Jennifer Crumbley had taken Ethan to a gun range, later posting on Instagram, "Mom and son day testing out his new Christmas present. My first time shooting a 9mm, I hit the bullseye." The social media post would later be used as evidence that the parents had given their son unrestricted access to the deadly weapon. On October 24, 2022, Ethan Crumbley stood before Judge Kwame Rowe and pleaded guilty to all 24 charges against him. The charges included murder, terrorism, and 22 other related counts. On December 8, 2023, he was sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole, plus an additional 24 years. At 17 years old, Crumbley became one of the youngest people in Michigan history to receive a life sentence. But the legal reckoning was far from over. In an unprecedented move, prosecutors charged Jennifer and James Crumbley with involuntary manslaughter, making them the first parents in U.S. history to be charged and convicted in connection with their child's mass school shooting. The prosecution argued that the parents' gross negligence in securing the weapon and ignoring warning signs made them criminally responsible for the deaths. On February 6, 2024, after roughly 11 hours of deliberation, a jury found Jennifer Crumbley guilty of 4 counts of involuntary manslaughter, 1 for each victim: Madison Baldwin, Tate Meyer, Justin Schilling, and Hannah St. Juliana. James Crumbley was convicted on the same charges on March 14, 2024, after his separate trial. On April 9, 2024, both parents were sentenced to the maximum penalty, 15 years in prison with the possibility of parole after 10 years. The judge's decision sent a clear message about parental responsibility in preventing school violence. Prosecutors had argued that Jennifer Crumbley showed a chilling lack of remorse for her role, and that James Crumbley failed to exercise even the smallest measure of ordinary care that could have prevented the tragedy. The Crumbley case established a new legal precedent that would reverberate through courtrooms across America. Parents could no longer claim ignorance when their children showed clear warning signs of violence. The evidence, the journal entries, the videos, the unsecured weapon, the ignored pleas for help, painted a picture of a family that failed in the most fundamental way. 4 teenagers died because a 15-year-old's cries for help went unanswered, and his access to a deadly weapon went unchecked. In the end, both Ethan Crumbley and his parents would spend decades behind bars, forever linked by a tragedy that could have been prevented. Subscribe for more true crime cases and watch our next video about warning signs that went ignored.